Hi everyone, and good Friday afternoon, and welcome back to GoLocal Live here in downtown Providence. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. I'd like to welcome in my next guest for a special live regarding an issue that's taking place in Bristol currently. Lisa Peterson, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Kate.
I appreciate your coming in. Statement issued this morning by the Bristol Town Democrats regarding the Bristol Public Library canceling a previously scheduled drag queen story hour. Now, this issue has certainly bubbled up. There was a protest at the library last night. Lisa, was looking for you as the protest organizer to sort of walk us through this. This is an event that had been scheduled well in advance, publicized as well. Then people found out the library was canceling it. Now, turning out last night, you said, were many people decrying this move by a public library and raising this issue to gain further awareness. So take us kind of from soup to nuts about when you found out that this was going to be canceled and how you decided to proceed.
Sure. So I first noticed the drag queen story hour had been scheduled in Bristol a few weeks ago, and put it on my radar, sort of just put it in the back of my head that that was something fantastic, and I was so thrilled that Bristol was going to participate in this. Story hours like this have been going on across the country for many years, and there was quite a smattering of local events scheduled as we led up to and entered Pride Month in June. So I didn't think much of it after registering it until yesterday morning when a post was shared to an Around Town Bristol page with the logo for the story hour and a canceled stamp across it. At the time, there was not a lot of public notification or any real public communication from the library. The only thing that we could find was the library staff's response in another article about the Fall River Drag Queen Hour, stating that Bristol was maybe not ready for such an event and that perhaps a community with more diversity would be more comfortable hosting such an event. That language in and of itself was so upsetting and so damaging, and made us feel like we were really telling folks that Bristol does not welcome all folks to our communities. So I really got pretty fired up about it and threw it out there on Facebook that perhaps there might be a protest tonight at the library and bring your flags and your signs. And then I decided to create a public Facebook event, but from my personal profile, just as a quicker way to get the message out there. And by the time I showed up, folks were starting to come in, and we really had a great turnout.
So talk with us a little bit about a few facets of this as well. Now, this is a public library. Does this raise issues of discrimination?
I think so. I mean, this is my public library. I live in Bristol. I'm a member of the community. I had been there for a room that I had reserved the day before for a community event. So it was really surprising that a library in general, but particularly the Bristol Library, who really espouses diversity and inclusion in their mission statement, had caved to the bullying of some folks who were opposed to this event and who decided, rather than just stay home from the event themselves, that they were going to stop it altogether and make a statement that Bristol was not the inclusive town that we believe that it is.
Do you think this is reflective of the community in Bristol?
Not at all. The turnout last night, on such short notice, I posted the event probably around 3 o'clock before I left work. And it started at 6, and there was turnout, and there were signs, and there were flags, and there was walk-in traffic, and there were people who were just out strolling a lovely night in Bristol and stopped by to see what we were doing and offered support. There were people driving by and beeping their support. I know that this is not Bristol. We have openly gay religious leaders in Bristol who've been welcomed and welcoming. Our town council vice chair fought really hard for marriage equality, and after that was passed, he and his husband were married, and they've been community leaders throughout their tenure in Bristol, and were embraced, and vice versa, embraced the community of Bristol. So this is not who we are.
And you said your message to opponents, first of all, was if you don't like it, don't come to it. And then secondarily, I'm sure you've heard the messaging from that opposition saying, don't expose children to this. What's your response to that?
I think that children need to be exposed to a diverse range of individuals. They're going to be exposed to diversity in their lifetime, and if we don't teach them that it's bad, they're not going to see it that way. So I think that we sent a really strong, wrong message to children that A, this is somehow wrong to be a drag queen, and B, that it's okay to discriminate in this really public sense against people that you disagree with.
And you made a point, we spoke in the green room. There's someone who reads, a woman with cats in hats. So costumery and reading is something that's not anathema to the library.
Absolutely. She was actually there last night, and I'm sorry, Jackie, but yes, you came up. And she has really fancy, fabulous hats that go along with each book that she reads. So it's very much a normal thing to have at the Bristol Library, where there's a bit of performance art behind Story Hour.
And so moving forward, you had the protest last night, and you said, of course, this was scheduled for the day of the Pride Parade in Bristol.
The Story Hour was, yes.
To coincide with it. So my question for you now, of course, is the goals moving forward. And we spoke a little bit about this. Looking for the library to change their mind, perhaps still schedule the event, but you've got concerns that they might try to put some constraints on it that wouldn't be in the spirit of what the event was intended for.
Right. My hope is that if they don't reschedule it as it was initially incorporated or planned, that they just own that this was a mistake and start to move forward and work with the community to see how they can do better. I think if they put the Story Hour back in place with a bunch of caveats or a bunch of age restrictions trying to appease the side of the bigotry, that is really doubling down on the harm that's been caused by this whole scene.
And you mentioned as well there is the opportunity to perhaps look for another environment to host as well, another venue, if you will. But that still harkens back to what you say was discrimination by the library, and that issue in and of itself you say is not going away.
Right. I mean, we sent a message, or the library sent a message with this, and we can't take that back. It's out there. So I do want to be clear that Bristol and the Queen, who was supposed to read at Story Hour, reached out to me on the Facebook event page and said that they are working to find another location, and that's great, and we're going to support the heck out of that. But I do think that there's some damage that's already been done, and we can't just make that go away.
Well, wanted to raise attention to it here on GoLocal, bring it right to the viewers. So Lisa Peterson, I appreciate your coming. I'm sure you'll keep us posted moving forward. We'll keep you posted moving forward, again, as it pertains to the Bristol Public Library, again, canceling a previous scheduled drag queen story hour that was to coincide with Pride, the Pride Parade in Bristol this month. Pride is the entire month of June as well. So again, this story we'll continue to follow it closely. So Lisa Peterson, thank you for coming in
Thanks
today.
for having me.
And thank you for watching here on GoLocal Live as we start your weekend here downtown. Of course, find us throughout the weekend on GoLocalProv.com and find us on Facebook. And we'll see you back here on Monday for more live. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.